Good morning, everyone. This is Professor Hills, a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College for Maymester. And today is Monday, the 23rd of May, 2022. I am indeed back from my trip to Houston. Quick in and out. But today we're on track with the start of week number 2. Our first essays were due last night, Sunday night at midnight. I'm going through them now. I'm going to make a couple of quick comments about them and then also talk about where we go next in this very short 3-week Maymester intensive class. So, let's talk about what came in last night. Looking pretty good. The main thing you need to remember with the essays are, of course, in terms of just the logistics, it's always got to be the first thing you post when you go into the discussion. Put that in first, and then read through, comment on 2 of your classmates, at least. So, but in terms of the content, the essays look pretty good. The main thing people need to remember to do, though, is answer the question. Sure, in this case, Jenny Lake's decision, was it right or wrong? Why do you think so? But we wanted to pull in some of the concepts, some of the key terms from Chapter 1 in our textbook, Doing Ethics by Louis Vaughn, and most everybody did that. It's helpful if you can cite exactly like the page in the chapter. So if you said, for example, the definition of ethics is the philosophical study of morality, you could just put, doing ethics, comma, page 5 or whatever it is. You can put that in parentheses right into the center of the essay. That's going to be okay. Some people cited the entire work at the end, like good APA form, that kind of thing, and that's fine. I just want to make sure that you're bringing in the concepts and applying them. You got to read the chapter, work those concepts into your essay, into your analysis of the case study. I should have those finished, graded here shortly, but they look pretty good. So on the whole, people have got the idea, they know what we're doing, and now we're going to do it again. This is the beginning of week 2. It's Monday, like I said, the 23rd. We're going to read chapter 2 and then apply that to our next case study, which is, again, a true story. This is John the paramedic. This case actually happened, it unfolded in one of my classes. I was teaching ethics, and John was a student in my class, and he told this story. And I've got other videos where I tell the story in great detail. I'll put a link to those. But the short version is that he responded to a situation where there was a person who was down, he had been stabbed, he was unconscious, and he made the decision, as the paramedic responding to that situation, pulled up in his ambulance, decided not to treat that person because the person had been stabbed in the middle of doing something horrible. And so he just had this moment of moral disgust and just said, I'm not going to do my job. This guy, screw him, whatever happens to him, he gets it, he deserves it. Now, for making that decision, he ended up losing his job as a paramedic. Paramedics are required to show up and treat people and not start making moral judgments about who to treat or not treat depending on how good they're leading their lives or what they happen to think about them. Now, it's obviously more complicated than that because, again, this was a bad dude. The guy on the ground was stabbed in the middle of a horrendous crime. But according to the applied ethics, the medical ethics of paramedics, that doesn't matter. If the medical professional treats the patient, and then other people sort out the other aspects. That's somebody else's job. Now, in this case, I want to mention this because specifically in your essay, you need to respond to a couple of questions. Just like with the first one, you're asked, was this right or wrong, John's decision, and then state why. And this time we want to know, do applied ethics, do they apply in this case? Are they involved? And if so, why? And then also, once you've kind of gone through your thinking and stated, I think what John did was morally justified, or I think what John did was morally unacceptable, and you start talking about why you think that, you need to then also step back and bring in the concepts from chapter 2, specifically in this case, looking at the 4 main things that are mentioned in the chapter: moral objectivism, cultural relativism, emotivism, and subjective relativism. And listen, the textbook, the chapter, goes into great detail about these 4. And so what I want you to do is think which one best describes you and your beliefs, and then give that definition and say, this is how I'm thinking about this. Now, again, just briefly, moral objectivism is the view that some moral principles are valid for everybody. Everywhere, all the time, there's just some things which are written in stone, and it's our job to learn what they are and then live by those objective rules. That's moral objectivism. On the other side of that, on the relativism side, he identifies 3 types of relativism: cultural relativism, subjective relativism, and emotivism. And I want to make sure we're clear about something. Emotivism sounds like it involves emotions and you're making your decisions based on emotions. That's not what's happening here, okay? It's not like John the paramedic was highly emotional, so he made his decision based on that and not his rational thinking, so he's an emotivist. No. Emotivism is the belief that there is no right and wrong. And these things just don't even exist. And so then when people say, well, lots of other people believe in right and wrong, what are those folks over there doing? Then they say, oh, well, even though there is no right and wrong, those people, what they're doing is they are just talking about their feelings and their emotions. In a sense, morality doesn't exist, and when people talk about it, they're just talking about emotions. That's a very different thing than saying I'm driven by my emotions and I make decisions, ethical decisions, based on my emotions. This is saying there are no ethical decisions because there's no morality, there's no right and wrong. Now, I've never met anybody like that. Maybe that person is out there, but I don't know. I've never met one. It's quite rare. The same thing is also true about subjective relativism. This is the belief that I, myself, whatever I determine is right and wrong, makes it morally right. An action is morally right if I make it so. If I approve of it, then it's right. If I disapprove of it, it's wrong. I am the moral touchstone for all ethics in the world. Again, let me say what this is not. It's not being selfish or self-centered. I know lots of people who are selfish and self-centered, but I don't know anybody who is so deluded that they think they are the standard, the arbiter of all morality. See, it's not something that they're guided by in making moral and ethical decisions. They think they are the standard. And you know what? I've never met anybody like that. So, again, those would be small, kind of out of the way and very unusual frameworks for these things. But, again, theoretically possible, I guess. But now we get to something which is a big factor: cultural relativism. We started looking in the first module about how, from a descriptive point of view, ethics vary greatly from society to society, culture to culture, country to country. There's big differences in morality, our beliefs about good and bad, right and wrong. The culture has shaped those beliefs. That's why they're different. It's why different cultures have different types of food and dress and language, which is a great example. And it's not that, one language is good and one language is bad. It's just, you have your culture and language, and over there they have their culture and language, and they're different. Now, lots of people say, oh yeah, But hold on a minute. It shouldn't be that way. When we're back to prescriptive, not the descriptive part, just describing what's out there like the good scientists do, but saying what should be the case, then they're saying, well, no, some people, the objectivists, say, no, there's one moral principle, and if your society believes in it, then they're getting that right. If they don't believe it, then they've got it wrong. It's kind of like math, you know? There's just a principle, 2 + 2 = 4. And if you think if you've learned that and you understand that, then you're getting it right. And if you think 2 + 2 = 36, then you're just wrong. You're objectively wrong. And that works for lots of things like math and parts of science, like the gravitational constant of the universe. We can't affect that. We don't have any impact on that. And in that sense, those things are objectively true because they don't depend on me. My subjective viewpoint doesn't matter. I can't change the fact that 2 + 2 = 4. But moral objectivists want to say that's also how ethics works. That's how morality works. And so, for example, as we've seen, they would say, well, there is a rule about like marriage. Some cultures are monogamous, some cultures are polygamous. One descriptive way of looking at this is saying, well, that's just the nature of the world. Look out the window, you'll see that that's true. There are lots of places in the world where they have polygamous marriages. It's legal, it's accepted, it's customary, it's morally acceptable. Other places where that's not true. The United States, we have legal monogamy. You can get married and divorced as much as you want, but you can only be married to one person at one time. And so that's a very different view of this. So the moral objectivists will say, well, one of those societies is just wrong and the other is right. And it's our job to figure out what's the true thing, the true moral principle about the nature of marriage. Others will say, no, look, it's just a reflection of the cultures and how they evolved and the fact that they're still evolving and at some switch. So it's, God knows, in the United States, we've had a big change in the last 25 years in terms of marriage and the cultural understanding of what it is and what is legal. It used to be that we had, it used to be, by the way, in my lifetime, I know I'm an old man with a gray beard, but in my lifetime, before Loving versus Virginia, it was against the law for people of different races to get married. If you were white, you wanted to marry somebody who was black, it was against the law. You couldn't do that. Well, we don't think that anymore. We have changed our thinking about that. Now it's completely legal for people to get married to people of different races. We used to think that it needed to be one man and one woman, and that same-sex marriage was against the law. And we don't think that anymore. Now in all 50 states, it turns out that we have marriage equality now. You can still only get married to one person, but they can be of any race and any sex. And we're like, that's up to y'all as, free, independent, autonomous adults living in a free society. That's up to y'all. Y'all figure that out. So, again, now, within our society, there's people that disagree with that. There's people who have, for example, religious beliefs which say, oh, no, I think that it should just be one man and one woman. And we have other groups, again, according to whatever their political beliefs, that think, oh, no, people should not marry outside of their race. It doesn't make their minor viewpoint the law of the land, but they're still around. You can still find them. You can still talk to them. And my point here is simply that, again, it's changed. So you need to answer all the questions when you're looking at this particular essay. Do Wednesday night, the 25th. It's a shorter turnaround this time. So read chapter 2, write your essay, comment on at least 2, and we should be square. But make sure when you do that, look at these things. Was it right or wrong? Is applied ethics involved? And what describes your thinking? Is it moral objectivism, cultural relativism, subjective relativism, or emotivism? sort all that out. If you got questions, let me know. That's why I'm here. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.